Hello, welcome. Hope everyone watching our podcast had a fantastic fourth, and welcome to Inside the Bot. Today, we've got an awesome episode. We're going to talk about the business case for RPA, for robotic process automation. So we're going to talk to the CEO and data wizard and our own director of partnerships and understand why now is the time to bring RPA into your business. So I've got the lovely Savannah here. I would like to bring her in. Say hello, Savannah. How are you? Where are you? I don't see you. There you are. Hi.
Doing good, Jason. How are you?
Good. Always nice to see you. So, how was your weekend, by the way? Did you see any fireworks?
I saw more fireworks than I've ever seen. It was amazing. I live in the DC area now, so it was my first fourth here. And I spent it in Washington, DC, so I got to see them on the National Mall. And then every single neighbor or people in the street were lighting them off as well. So it was a very fun fourth. How was yours?
It was good. Yeah, it was wonderful. I saw lightning and fireworks. It was pretty cool, so I enjoyed it. But I did a lot of tropical stuff, so it was great. Yeah, I went to the beach, went to Naples, went to actually Isla Morada, which is in the Keys. So
I love Alamorada.
yeah, it was fun. So we've got Kyle and we've got Chris. So give us a little intro about. We've had them on before, so just tell us a little bit about them, how cool they are before we bring them in.
Well, they are both very, very cool. They work for Intellese, which is one of our partners. They specialize in the energy, oil, and gas space and have actually been doing intelligent automation primarily around intelligent document processing for quite some time. And then, started doing RPA services in the past couple of years and have had a lot of clients really benefit. So we're very excited to have them back today for the second time on Inside the Bot.
Yeah, and I love it too because they see digital transformation from the inside out. You know, it's like we have other partners, but they use it in their business. They have other folks that they're helping bring it into their business, and then they're in this really cool space, the energy sector. So let's bring Chris on in and Kyle on in. How you doing, sir? Chris is the CEO of Intellese, and Kyle is the data wizard, handles all things data. So how you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Welcome back from the July 4th weekend. Everybody's back to work and on Fun Wednesday.
Yeah, we're excited. Yeah, nice to have you. So, and Kyle, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just fine.
As far as I understand, before you got in, Chris is saying that you got a new look here. So you got a new style going on. We were talking about haircuts earlier. So
Yeah, I lost about 10 pounds of hair. Yeah.
it's always nice to change it up, right?
Yeah. I
Nice.
feel like nothing looks more different than a haircut than like a guy with curly hair or a dog. My dog, whenever he gets groomed, it's like I have a completely new pet every time. It's magical.
Yeah, I have three kids. So I can't have any pets because it's too much.
Well, you have three pets.
Yeah, well, actually, so this is what I say, and it's probably not a great thing to say, but my son is the youngest, and his Chinese sign is a dog. So the kids, they always ask me, hey, why can't we get a dog? I'm like, well, we have Benjamin, like we already have it. But anyway, we're getting off topic. So we brought Intellese here. We want to understand directly from a company that's been through the decision making. So, what is a business owner? What do they need to know in order to make a decision to get started with RPA if they're on the fence? So Intellus has a proof of concept that they've been working on, which is, I love this when they were telling me about this because, and I'll let them talk about it, but there's a lot going on in digital transformation and what's understood between, employee replacement, efficiency. The reality is it's just, I always like to think of it as time efficiency. So you take a project that might take 90 days, and if you can take 20 of those days, and an automation can handle it. So Chris and Kyle, can you talk about this proof of concept that you're using and that you're working with OpenBots?
Yeah, sure. So in oil and gas, we do what we call due diligence projects. They usually get looked into whenever acquisitions or divestitures or mergers are made. And a lot of times they do have a 90-day clock on them. And you might have a team of people working on it. And one of the functions that one of those people will perform for 2 or 3 weeks out of that, or maybe even a month out of those 3 months, will be simply gathering information and downloading documents from a website. And that's what we built a bot to do. And so we built a bot that could automate looking up information, downloading a document, looking inside that for new information, and then going and downloading new information based off the first document. It's called chaining title or chain of title. And the bot was able to go find new documents based on, the prior document. And that's something that just collecting that information, like I said, would take a human a couple of weeks to do. It doesn't replace a whole job. It doesn't do the whole due diligence, but it's a very significant piece up front that somebody would be doing. And now the humans can go do the analysis and the job that they need to do.
Beautiful. Yeah, I want to spring on that, Chris, as well.
Yeah, I think robotic process automation is something that every business owner should be looking into if you are doing any kind of data entry or spreadsheets. To me, it's something that you need to think of as a long-term solution to possibly short-term problems and long-term problems. RPA is not something that you want to start when you're in a pinch or you have a report to turn in tomorrow with management. It's something that you want to implement to make the future easier. So, there's lots of processes that go on in business, from running the business itself, paying bills, using different systems to pay bills, doing work for clients, possibly doing data entry. I can think of hundreds of different use cases for robotic process automation. But I think the biggest thing to think about here is that you actually start it and you implement it and you look at the long-term results of what it's going to be.
Right. And the conversation too. So if you have, because I know that you have told us, we have cases where you have your own employees that have learned how to automate their own jobs, which I find very interesting. But if a person is an employee and they want to communicate the benefits of RPA, of intelligent automation, don't they how do they get over that, maybe that fear that they might have, that apprehension of, well, am I automating myself out of a job? Because I know that's going through the minds of a lot of folks.
I think that's a really good question. I don't only get that from the employees that work with us, but from clients where we're showing them RPA and implementing RPA into their systems. A lot of times you get, people don't really believe it. You build it out with the customer or client as a subject matter expert. And then when you put it to work, you see the eyes open and they actually start to watch the robots, do the work that they were doing. And the first thing that usually happens is two things. One, the person may get scared and it's kind of just taken aback by the whole thing. Like, wow, that's something I used to do, and that would take me hours or days to do. And I just watched this robot do it in 10 minutes or so. The other reaction I get is where the brainstorming starts happening within the employer or the client, where they are impressed by the amount of work that is done for things that they really don't want to spend time doing. Keying in contacts and keying in data over and over and over again can become very tedious. It can become a job that you do every single day. So I'm getting a lot of feedback from employees and clients where they're happy to get rid of these little jobs that they're stuck doing and being able to move into some other things that they're able to do. So one of the things that I started doing when I talk to people about RPA, because it's so new, robotic process automation, people aren't seeing it across the industry. It's very, very new. But I always ask them, if you could create another one of you or two or three of them to do your daily tasks for you in the way you want them to get done, would you do it? And I rarely ever get a no, honestly. And I think that's the way I've been able to kind of turn the tide on the fear of the Terminator coming through and taking our jobs,
The Hollywood AI, like iRobot coming.
Movie yesterday, and even at the end he became friends with them, but he had to, it's just not that way. The truth is that, last week Kyle and I were at a pretty major company and we were talking with their staff, and they had the same gripe. It would take us 30 people to put on this task, and we could write the rules. We could put them on paper. We could, tell everybody what to do. We could have a weekly meeting, daily meeting, and still not get the consistency out of those 30 people that management wants. And then we all looked at each other and said, what do you have to do? You have to go into step 2, which is clean up. And they all said, oh, clean up. And, I think RPA can reduce a lot of that. And when you do want a job to be completed, it's still being done by the humans. You still have to train these bots. When software changes, you have to update the bots. You still have to be the master of your domain. It's just taking away from the inconsistencies that happen whenever you put large groups of people together. So for business, from a business standpoint, a CEO, I'm going to say this is the way to go. And employees should embrace it. Clients should embrace it as an extension of you, not a replacement of you. And I think that's the best way to present our.
I love that point, Chris, because I think that failing to prepare is preparing to fail, right? So if you have a group of employees where, and I saw things like this all the time, it's like, log this, do this, why aren't you doing it correctly? Why are there errors, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's human nature. But if you can program something to automate that, the humans' tasks day to day may change, but they're going to take away things that are mundane and probably make them not like their job very much, basically give them like a virtual assistant. But they are going to have some additional responsibilities to learn how to manage or at least launch the automation. And as an employee, it's going to make you very marketable if you have some automation knowledge, because it's really the future of work and becoming the present day of work. So if you understand as a human employee how you can effectively work with the digital workforce, then you are bettering yourself, your resume, your credentials, but also making your day-to-day at work a lot more comfortable and optimized.
Yeah, and Kyle has a really example for the technical folks out there. I think this will be helpful. If you could go over, Kyle, that IT example that you've shared before about the server example.
Oh yeah, so this is simple IT guy automation. So there's about 5 servers that get backed up. They get backed up either hourly or daily, and they're using 2 different backup systems. And it's somebody's job just to make sure that the backups happened. And while some backup systems may have email notifications in there to let you know that a task completed successfully, not all of them do. These ones didn't. So this guy created an automation or an RPA bot to go and log in to the backup systems on each of those servers and verify the backup happened. And that's something that would just take him 15, 20 minutes a day, every day of his life, Monday through Friday. And then if there's a problem, he would have to deal with it. Well, he created a bot that would go log in and check, and if they all complete successfully, it would email him, hey, it's all good. And if there was a problem, it would email him and say, there's a problem. And he would have that email before he even got to the office, so he could hit the ground running. He didn't have to get in, get his coffee, go look for a problem, find a problem, and then start fixing it. He knew as soon as he sat down whether there was a problem or not, and he did it in less time.
Yeah, that's a lot. And it really iterates too. So I guess this part 2 is for those employees too. Like as Savannah was kind of hinting at, and you can talk about this too. I'd like you to, Savannah. But so now is kind of the time for the employees to adapt and think differently about their roles, about not doing all this manual work, but about automating that so they can do more. But it's just kind of COVID has shown that the work environment has changed. Those kind of things. So how important is it that you've seen from your perspectives about the employees that they need to adapt and not, kind of embrace as an enhancement with RPA?
Yeah, we're seeing it more and more from end clients that are looking for RPA training, but not just for their developers. They want, and I know citizen developers has a bit of a stigma around it at times, but even if you're not going to be a citizen developer, if you have attended automations that you are tasked to launch and monitor, you need to understand how those work. So it's a really exciting opportunity for the workforce to get rid of some of the things that they don't like to do quite as much, but then also learn some new skills. And there's a lot of really great resources out there. Of course, the OpenBots Academy has lots of trainings, but then aside from that, you can go on like Udemy or any of the other places where you would typically just like gain additional knowledge and learn a bit about RPA and how you can utilize it as a business focused employee rather than someone technical.
Nice. So let's hit these points a little harder about, let's develop this business case, because there's people out there that need the language to be able to communicate. So if they're bought in, if I'm an employee and I say, yes, I want this, but they rely on, which we've talked about is so important, is getting that buy-in from the C-suite, those other stakeholders. How do they communicate how RPA can change their business? And I'll pose that question to you, Chris. If you're telling someone, you're coaching them, saying, hey, this is the way you need to talk to your CEO about how this is going to redefine business, what would you say to them?
Some quick background. Like when we were talking about this ahead of time, obviously, as a person in sales or an organization trying to sell your services or your product to somebody, typically you want to start at the top, or you can do bottom up. But it's sometimes hard to get the CEO or CTO to buy in immediately. But also, more frequently than that issue, I'd say that you have people who are in the middle of the pack, maybe someone in middle management or just a subject matter expert who is like, this is so annoying every day and there's got to be a better solution. So as we have folks like that are begging for a way to optimize what they're doing, how do we make them internal champions so that they can then spread the good word of RPA to the folks that can actually sign the checks and close the deals?
Yeah, exactly. So what's the language that we can do that, Chris? What would you recommend in that conversation? How should that go?
Being a CEO myself and having to go in and sell board members and top dogs of companies on new automation, new thought processes, new anything is always tough. I do know this though. Every CEO, manager, someone that has to do some kind of reporting to a stakeholder, a shareholder, their board, their quarterly meetings or monthly meetings, the one thing that they want to do is they want to be prepared and they want to have accurate information that they're able to take to their teams, to their stakeholders. And that is not information that is retracted later on because of a glitch or some kind of problem or somebody trying to use a lower technology to create. So, being on time is gigantic when you're in management. I also like to talk to people, when they're skeptical about, implementing something like RPA into the workforce. Everybody's skeptical of new technology a lot of times. And for me, the citizen developer piece is just a testament to the fact that if you were to sit down with your existing employees, the ones that you trust, the ones that have been working for you for a while, and you can teach them how to use OpenBots, RPA, and which you can. I mean, it's totally viable. We had a young lady that worked at Starbucks as a barista who is now using OpenBots. So for anybody out there, you can learn this. But now you have a trust factor. So you're going from the bottom, you're getting the people that are around them, telling them that, they think it's a good idea, that they can implement it. And then once you see what it's worth, you don't have to sell anymore. I mean, literally, the things that you can get done, the consistency that can happen. I think seeing is believing a lot of times, but more than anything else, when an employee can walk into me and give me exactly what I want for my clients, and I'm able to go into the board meeting, and I always say loading my bullets in the gunfight, and I'm able to go do that, there's nothing better in the world for someone in my position than to be prepared, ready, accurate, and to be able to stand on what I'm being told and reporting out to my people at the end of the day. And they rely on me to be able to do that. So I think that's the big pitch right there.
Nice. It reminds me of being a Boy Scout. That was the motto, right? Always be prepared.
Always be prepared. I mean, it's real simple. You want to keep your job, make your boss happy, right? And if that boss has bosses. I may be the CEO of the company, but I have clients who are my bosses, and we have to meet their expectations. And when we do, it's a great day for me and my staff. And when we don't, well, we go back to the drawing board. We maybe work until midnight. That's the whole thing. Let's keep it simple. Let's make our lives easier. That's what technology is all about. It's about adapting it to make our lives easier. And I think this is one of the major things that we can do in our workforce to do that.
Yeah, and the question too for Kyle, and that most leaders want to know is, so okay, it's
Oh. Is Jason frozen for anyone else, or am I frozen?
Okay, yes, he's frozen for me, but I thought that was my internet having problems.
Okay, because we were all sitting so still because I was looking around. I was like, "Am I the one that's frozen?" I just said everyone else, and he was really about to hit.
Sounds great, but how easy is it to integrate?
Jason, are you there? I think he's still frozen. I think it'll probably do that robot thing where it's catching up for a second. I wish I could read his
Man
mind.
versus tech all the time.
What was that, Chris?
We lost him.
The
I know,
man versus tech. Tech works, man works.
Exactly. While we're here,
It's always fun to watch the technology and adapt as we're talking about it.
exactly. Man versus Tech, great podcast, you guys. All listeners should tune in. That's the podcast Chris and Kyle normally do at this time on their channel, but we were lucky enough to steal them over to ours today.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, Savannah.
Subtle plug. I got you. Let me shoot Jason a message and see.
I think he was trying to ask Kyle how it was to integrate RPA into existing softwares and how easy is that to do, or hard, or what is his thoughts on that?
Yeah. So really the only time we've run into a real roadblock, it hasn't been technical. It's been software companies or website platforms that say you're not allowed to use bots. And those are mostly people who are afraid that you're going to use their software too fast or too much, and that they won't be able to support it, is what I found to be their fear.
Are there workarounds for instances like that? Like, I'm assuming you mean when you go to a website and it's like, check this box so that we know you're not a robot.
Oh, no. Like I've seen in the EULA in the user agreement for different software platforms where like you can't use bots on this website. And a lot of it has to do, they're afraid of getting too much traffic and the fact that a bot can move faster than their website could move. So that's the only time that we've ever like been stopped on using something.
All right, lovely. That's the beauty, right? Change. It's always fresh. Are we back?
We're back.
I think so.
Except I'm Sarima now. Give us a second. All right, so Kyle, I believe you. I'm gonna pick it up right where you left off.
I was saying, we've used RPA to automate processes in legacy applications like DB2 and FoxPro-based applications, as well as modern C#.NET applications or web applications. So the big thing when we're trying to integrate it into an existing workflow is that we want to document the existing workflow really well, and then we want to see how we can make that as good as possible, and then we want to automate it, because sometimes we find when we're evaluating a workflow that, hey, the humans, while they may have been doing it a certain way for a while, they weren't doing it the best way. Or we may find that when we are automating and using a bot, that maybe the bot can do it a different way than the human. The bot can do things maybe in a different order that makes more sense for a bot than it would for a human. And so, like I said, the big thing though is to sit with somebody, see what the existing process is, see how to optimize that, and then implement the bot based on that.
Yeah, it seems like too, and for those new with the RPA, I like how you describe that, right? It kind of changes possibly how you'd want to do the process with working with an automation. And that's something that what Savannah and you talk about all the time. So this is kind of like the new paradigm is how will a human worker and a digital worker, how will they work together? And it doesn't have to be the same business as usual and just assigning that automation doing the same thing. It can do certain things better, right? It doesn't have to take a rest. It can be 100% accurate if it follows these discrete rules. So how important is it for people to get comfortable working with these digital workers, Savannah?
I'd say it's really important. And what we're seeing more and more often is clients that are looking for stronger attended automation capabilities, which is a little funny to me. But that we rolled out the OpenBots Assistant earlier this year to have a more like basically user UI friendly way to interact with attended automation, because it's this paradigm where we need to find a way to blend the human and the digital workforce, because it's going to just continue to evolve in the human employees that are actually interacting with what the automated tasks are as well.
And I know we hinted at this as well, and for Chris and Kyle, anyone that we can answer this. So with automation, there's a lot of tangible and intangible benefits, but what a business user would want to know as well is, okay, how long will it take until I start seeing results that make sense to me, maybe on paper or in the office? So how do we balance that tangible versus intangible as a CEO?
As a CEO, I would definitely say simply we've seen ROIs within 30 days on RPA. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on how much you're actually writing, how many robots you're creating, how many steps does it take. But I like to think of it like remodeling your home. You don't want to rush something that you're improving upon. And the long-lasting effects of doing something like completely redoing your floors or kitchen, which includes so many different things that cost so much money, and people may want to not really do all those things. It's $70,000 is spent on a brand new kitchen, right? But when you walk into that thing and you start to cook and use it, and you have new appliances, you have all these new things, it is long lasting. It is something that continues on. I think that's how you have to look at RPA more than anything else. It's not a quick fix. You don't go in there and put some duct tape on it and hope it's going to work. You create something for the future. So, what is your ROI? It can be 1 month, it could be 6 months, but no matter what, as you build it, you're going to increase revenue over years. You're going to increase productivity over years. You're not going to see the kind of productivity that just humans can do. RPA is proven to be anywhere at least 4 to 20 times faster than a human being can be. So when we produce certain things with robotic process automation, I've yet to meet a human that can do things as accurate and as fast as the RPA itself. My favorite part about it is that you get to do it, you build with it. You get rid of your mundane tasks, and now you're left with people who are, really quality individuals. They're very well paid. There's nothing worse than being a business owner than spending 6 figures on an employee that is sitting there just putting in square pegs and square holes for 7 days a week. That is a waste of time, effort, and their talent. And sometimes those people even like to leave, and now you're rehiring, you're going through certain things. So, that's what I think the beauty of RPA is, and a lot of adding technology to the human being is letting us really do what we're trained to do best and get rid of some of the mundane tasks that we have to do to make our jobs work. And as any business owner, if you don't see the value in that, then, even McDonald's has created the Speedy system, and look at where they are today.
I love all the home renovation examples. You can tell that's Run a mind for you. From a man with a struggling air conditioning system and a couple moves recently.
Yeah, I
It
love that
is.
example. I love that example. But so I want to see if I understand it correctly, because maybe this would be helpful. So the whole kitchen analogy, which is awesome. So would you say, okay, so if you're looking at everything that you want to do for that 70,000 that you want to redo your kitchen remodel, would you say maybe like automating your first process is okay, you're getting a new stove, so at least it, something simple that's like immediate, and then you're getting the new refrigerator, then maybe you change some lighting, like getting that first win. There's an immediate result in that kitchen, right? Your cooking is going to get a little bit better, but maybe not everything's done. Maybe the tile or whatever flooring is not there,
Yeah.
right? It's an iteration, right?
I mean, we all watch the shows, right? And the first thing they do is they have a designer come in and they sit down and show you what it's going to look like. And
The
then you start
discovery
to tear
phase.
everything apart and you realize, oh, that wall didn't work or this needs to be moved. And there's always something you have to do. That's part of the process of RPA as well. You have the idea, you have the vision. Then you really dig into it and you start to figure out, you have to adapt to certain things. There's nothing worse than the feeling of being in a remodel and watching your whole home be torn apart. You kind of feel helpless. You feel like this is never going to get done. And as time goes by, you adapt, you change, and towards the end, you end up with this immaculate vision that comes true. And again, it's long lasting. It's not something that is just a one off. You're happy to go in there every day. It's changed the way you feel. It's changed the way you're doing things. And yes, for maybe that moment of time, you had some anxiety because there was worries from your crew or whatever it may be that pops up during those type of behaviors. But that's business. That's getting something done. I think that happens even without RPA. If we were to sit and do everything manually, you still run into the same challenges. The question is, do you have a quick solution that will solve that problem, or do you now have to drag on the renovation? And I think that's what we all don't want to do. We don't want to drag on the renovation, right? So when we watch these shows, everything happens in 30 minutes and you think they get brand new houses, but the truth is it goes for a very long time. There's so many things that will happen to it. But when you put your effort into it and you actually solve the problem, I don't walk in my kitchen anymore and worry about something not working or worrying about the quality of what I did. It's there, it's ready, it's usable. And every day, if I make my kids breakfast, it comes out of the brand new pantry we made or off the brand new microwave we installed. And all those things made my life better and easier.
Yeah, and I liked what you were saying, Chris, about the it's not just headcount ROI, or it's also that there are so many additional benefits. Like when you're redoing your kitchen, you're probably getting more energy efficient appliances, so you're going to save there. It's obviously going to be a much more enjoyable experience. Maybe it's easier to clean. Like with RPA, it's yes, reduce headcount potentially, but it's also the speed that the work is getting done, the efficiency, the opportunity to improve the life of your employees. We have a client that signed on this week, and they are bringing their work day or work week to 4 days. Their mission is to use automation to get to a 4-day work week, and they're in law. Can you imagine being a lawyer and being like, oh yeah, I'm not going to work 80-hour weeks. This is beautiful. So
what a beautiful thing. I mean,
yeah.
I will be honest, the square peg, square hole workers out there are not going to make it from the ones who can do the same job. There will be those type of jobs will go by the wayside, but that's happened through everything. I mean, how long has the computer been around? How long has automotive industry been building cars with machines? How many times do we go and microwave a meal where it used to, or the washing machine? I mean, all of these things are evolution in itself. And, companies are going to be straight up. They're not going to spend money on payroll and expenses for people that are just going to do simple tasks all the time. They're going to let that be controlled by robotic process automation, by technology, adapting it with the human beings, because they're literally going to get better results out of it.
Yeah.
So no longer, sorry for the summer interns and things like that. There may still be some jobs there, but I would say if you're going to do something in a summer intern type of position, go learn how to do the RPA. You have a good chance of surviving the company at the end of the day than just coming in and just helping out, doing things like making copies or running around for coffee or whatever it may be.
Yeah. One last question I had, Chris, was, people are hesitant to change, but the only thing that's consistent in life is change. So What would you say to folks, because this is something we get a lot too, about we're too busy right now, or we don't have bandwidth right now? Like, how do you mitigate that mindset of we are too busy to do this?
Man, I love that statement. I'm too busy. The number one excuse in the world to not do something is I just don't have enough time. Um, you know what? Create the time. That's the first thing you have to do. Any change that's out there, you read all the books, all the sales books, all the motivational books. They'll tell you change. If you don't adapt to change, you're going to fall behind. To have the excuse of I don't have the time, make yourself the time. Find a way to make yourself the time. That's going to make your life easier. I love your tale of the 4-day work week. I think that should be very prevalent. I think Americans, they always talk about how Spain, they take naps during the day, and France does this, and why can't we do that? And we're always working. If you want to give yourself a day off, use tech to give yourself a day off. So let's drop the excuses, quit making excuses for why you don't want to adapt to something, because honestly, your excuse is the reason to do it. It is the number one reason to do it.
Exactly. Yes. That's why I always say you're too busy because you haven't done this yet.
Yeah, and people get stuck in their ways. They just want to do it a certain way. I think that's what human beings do compared to robots. Is they just get stuck in how to do something one way, and they know it works. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. My favorite commercial is that Larry David commercial where they're just laughing about the wheel, and they're laughing about indoor plumbing, and they're laughing about the fork, and all these different. He tells Edison, you're crazy. Does your wife know what you're doing at night? And these are the people that have changed the world with inventions that most people never really thought that would really make something, or in denial or something to say. But it just takes that one person to really show it at the end of the day, and people start to go, okay, I can do this. And I think it's awesome that OpenBox makes something that I feel like the citizen developers can do. I think that's amazing, because there's a lot of tech out there that makes it very tough. You have to have a data science degree to figure something out, and with this, I found that you really don't have to do that. So it should be able to be easily embraced.
I think we have a question here, and I do have a question for Kyle. So thanks, Sarima. So we've got a question here. How could we make employees of an organization accept RPA and see their benefits? They usually feel like it's going to replace them. Well, you can refer to the beginning of this episode, right?
Yeah, I think we covered it earlier, but Kyle, do you want to give us a quick 1 minute or 30-second summary of the answer to Eric's question there?
Yeah, sure. RPA can't do everything that a human can do. It can do a lot of repetitive things very quickly and very well, very efficiently. So RPA is not there to take a job. It's there to replace parts of a job so that now you can go do the harder, more challenging, more creative parts of the job description.
Wow, look at that. He's just very succinct and concise. He's ready for that. Well, guys, this has been fantastic. Always love having Savannah and Intellese here. So I think that's good. Any final words that we have for those like Eric that have some questions, right? They understand the communication about RPA is a difficult one, but it's a lot easier if you understand the purpose of the technology.
Yeah, I think, Eric, at the end of the day, when you're shopping at Walmart and you go through self-checkout, that's a beautiful thing. And the scan gun to UPCs made buying things easier prior to typing things onto a cash register. This goes into a very simplistic situation. So, instead of showing your employees something that could take their job, you have to let them know that, this is helpful to you. And it's no different than adding a calculator to a mathematician or an accountant, or adding a software into a programming language, or somebody sharing amongst ideas amongst each other, putting team members together. It's another tool in our toolbox. The humans still rule. The robots do not rule. They are not cognitive. They cannot take our jobs because we control everything they do. And I think that's how I like to but help my employees understand that you are still in control, and that we are able to be actually create something new out of using this technology instead of just doing it the same old fashioned way. But it comes from us. So, without the human, the bot doesn't learn.
Perfect. Well, you guys heard it here. Like you said earlier, RPA is an extension of the employee. It's an extension of you. And a big theme of this episode for those leaders out there, look at the long-term vision, because from the sentiment I get from this is that RPA brings the potential out. You see, maybe the holes in your processes and the potential to fill that in and have something like a 4-day work week versus a 7-day work week like some firms out there. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you for this awesome information. Always a pleasure to chat about this stuff. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks, Savannah.
All right.
Thank you all.
See you guys. Bye.